I will turn it over to litigator extraordinaire, Ms. Julie Hurwitz.
Good morning. My name is Julie Hurwitz, and I am a proud member of this phenomenal legal team. What happened in Flint was 100% avoidable. This has been a long, hard fight, and it goes back to the times before the switching of the water. It goes back to the moment that former Governor Snyder installed the first unelected emergency manager to govern the city of Flint, and the struggling people of this city were taken down the path of austerity with false promises of recovery. And at what cost? To save a few short-term dollars under the helm of a governor and an emergency manager who cared more about the bottom line than the lives and public health of this community. And a state regulatory agency, the MDEQ, that literally turned a blind eye to its own failure to enforce the Safe Drinking Water Act. And in fact, that lied to the people of Flint, to this community, about the dangers of this water. From the moment that they flipped that switch at an ill-equipped water treatment plant, sending highly corrosive and untreated water into the homes, schools, businesses, and every residence in the city of Flint, the amazing people of this community, plagued by years of racism and economic abandonment, fought back. We are so proud to be your lawyers. As Attorney General Nessel has said today, for years after these cases were filed, the state fought against the people of Flint's claims, but you, the people of Flint, stood firm. And as my co-counsel Michael told you, after 5 years of hard-fought litigation, dozens of failed attempts to have our claims dismissed, dozens of failed appeals, going all the way up to the US Supreme Court, and most recently, the Michigan Supreme Court, upholding the right to hold the state of Michigan accountable directly under the Michigan Constitution. As the attorneys representing this class in this city, the city of Flint, in both federal and state courts, we are so very proud of you, the strong people of Flint. We are proud of your tenacity and your perseverance while living all of this time, not just with the physical and emotional consequences of having been poisoned, having lived with the terrifying uncertainties of what your children's lives will be. Also living with the fear and permanent dread of never being able to trust any public water system again. We are committed to continuing to fight on your behalf. As acknowledged by Governor Whitmer, this partial settlement, while a tremendous victory and a significant step forward, is not enough to truly compensate you. We are committed to continue fighting. There are still claims to be litigated against the private engineering companies who knew about the dangers of the water system, knew that failing to use corrosion control would introduce dangerous lead, bacteria, cancerous TTHMs, and other heavy metals into the water system, and against the federal agency, the EPA, that knew of the serious violations of the law were occurring and that a public health emergency was going on before their very eyes, and they did nothing to intervene, despite their lawful authority and obligation to do so. While we are gratified that the state, under the leadership of Governor Whitmer, has stepped up to partially compensate you, the people of Flint, for what you have been through and are continuing to go through during these extraordinarily difficult times, we are still in this fight because Black Lives Matter and Flint lives matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, for that. We will now take questions from the media. And so far, our first question will come from Beth LeBlanc. And I'm going to unmute you right now, Beth, so we can ask your question, and both Michael and Ted will respond.
Thank you. Michael and Ted, can you give us a little more detail about how Flint residents can participate in this, who they should be reaching out to, what steps they should be taken, and how those claims will be processed?
Sure. I'm happy to start. Mike could piggyback if I miss anything. But the claims process will be a process that will start probably in anywhere from 45 to 60 days from now. First, we're going to have to go through a preliminary approval process before Judge Levy. There are claims forms and things of that matter that are some of the things that will be worked on between now and then. In terms of the community finding out how to do that, we are there, and we have an office in Flint. We're hoping for business, if you will. As part of this press packet and press conference, we'll have phone numbers, websites, text numbers that people can call for help, for us to give them guidance and be able to advocate for them. Those individuals who are not represented by attorneys presently, because there are people that have personal attorneys, we are happy to talk with them and guide them also through the process and represent them if they would like us. Either way, we will be there for this community to help in any way, shape, or form that we can. Again, it's going to take a little time to get there in terms of the processing, but we will be working with the court and the state lawyers and all the other lawyers to get this up as soon as possible. It'll be on the website and also facilitated through handouts. And then the claims process, again, will be ones that are filled out with supporting documentation that will be provided to the special master and the administrator, and the process will then run through there.
And let me add that the first step is to educate. We are going to spend a lot of time educating the community about the plan, how it operates, and how everybody can participate. We will have navigators on the ground to help people understand what their options are and make sure that they get the best possible outcome from the compensation plan. We are going to be COVID compliant. So I want to caution everybody, we're not going to allow a lot of people into the office all at the same time. We're going to be very careful about it. We don't want anybody to get sick. We don't want our staff to get sick. We don't want you to get sick. We're still in the pandemic, and we're going to be observant of those rules, but we're going to do the best we can to make sure we are accessible. The community should know that everyone is going to have equal access to this program. Makes no difference if you are represented by an attorney or you're not. If you qualify for a particular award because you meet the profile, that is what you are going to get. And it's not going to make any difference if you've got some lawyer from some place. If you meet the profile, you will be compensated accordingly. We have built in, and we will continue to make sure that there is equity, parity, equality, and non-discrimination throughout the process. That's a guarantee.
Right. And let me just say just one other thing about what Mike was referring to, because I think it's very important to say this, is that with the COVID situation that we have, which unfortunately may last for a long time, we are going to have through our website claim forms on the website where people will be able to fill them out off-site through the website. We'll be able to print them off and get them filed and things of that sort. So there'll be a whole process that hopefully everyone will feel comfortable and not suscept themselves to, COVID-related issues.
Thank you. Next up is Paul Egan.
Good morning. Thank you. Will the entire $600 million be available for distribution, or will attorney costs and other costs come out of that? Or to put the question another way, what's the rough total amount that will be available for distribution?
Well, we don't have the particular question is, yes, attorney's fees and costs will come out of the 600 million, but that is all left up to Judge Levy to decide. So we don't know what that amount will be. At the appropriate time, we as the attorneys and others involved will be petitioning the court for an appropriate amount of fees. At this time, we don't know what that will be. So can't really give you what the net number will be in terms of a recovery, but clearly it'll be significant and substantial.
Echoing what Brother Ted said, there has been no agreement regarding apportionment for attorney fees. That's still a very open issue. Negotiated for the people. We expect to be compensated fairly as attorneys. We worked very hard. There are 20 or 30 lawyers who have spent many hours on this case. The costs have been, it's been an expensive proposition, folks, and we hope to get reimbursed. I'm sure the court will reimburse the attorneys, and the court will review, the amount of work that we put into it and make the appropriate award to us. And we trust Judge Levy to do the appropriate thing. I'm sure she will.
Thank you for that. Next up is Tim Skubic.
Councilor Pitt, two quick questions. First, what was your first dollar amount that you put on the table to settle this case? And secondly, that's the governor calling. The second question is, what was the toughest element to negotiate where you thought this is going to fall apart?
Okay. First of all, Tim, you're out of line asking that first question. You're never going to get an answer out of me on that one. You know that.
Well, it is more than 600 million, right?
Well, you could speculate all you want. You're not going to get an answer on that one. So on the second one, there was an amalgamation of efforts here. At the table, were the state attorneys, of course, and we also had as co-negotiators on the plaintiff's side, attorneys representing the interests of individually represented folks, and of course we were the class counsel. And so I knew that we had a deal that was going to work when we laid down some very important principles like equity, parity, non-discrimination. Everybody is going to be treated equally, fairly, in a non-discriminatory way. We struggled with that. We got agreement on it. Once that happened, the governor took over and the number materialized, and here we are. So.
Since you didn't answer my first question, then I may ask this. What evidence will the plaintiffs have to present in order to get part of the money?
Sure, it's going to vary. We tried, and the state did make this a requirement that to the extent possible, that the claim should be evidence-based, objective-based, blood lead level results, other objective indicia of lead ingestion or contamination, evaluations from doctors regarding cognitive deficiencies. There's a whole host of objective evidence that is going to be expected for claimants in order to maximize their recovery under the program. And we're going to be there to help them. We're going to navigate, we're going to help everybody navigate through what's required to make sure they get the best possible outcome.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Michael. Next up is Chad Livengood.
Yes. Roughly how many total Flint residents do you think will make claims? There's been, the state's count is about 28,000 who have either filed suit or filed the right to suit or whatnot. What's that going to, what is your estimate on how many potential claimants there will be?
Well, let me, Chad, Let me see if I could answer that as best we can. We know that the general population of Flint at any given time during the time period for which this litigation is involved is approximately 100,000 people. Of that 100,000, there are somewhere in the range of 28 to 30,000 minors. The rest, of course, adults. Yes, there are individual claims that have been filed of approximately the number that you stated. So that tells us there are a lot more people out there that are part of, again, the settlement class, part of the minors that are not part of the settlement class, but will be needing to get into the system, which we hope that we can facilitate and help them through that. And also the groundwork that we're doing to get the word out. There'll be a notice that will be required. There'll be, social media, boots on the ground, if you will, through community leaders, every way that we can to try and get the word out, locate people so that everybody that has been injured and harmed in Flint in some way, shape, or form can come forward and participate in this recovery. So the burden is, really on the community, on us, on the court, everybody to get the word out so as many people can participate. And yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, one last question. Between the two of you, can you give us an estimate on how much your firms have spent to date litigating this lawsuit for the last 5 years? What's that come out to?
Well, I don't have that number off the top of my head, but let's suffice it to say that it's been a strong group of attorneys and firms that have been involved in 5 years of intense litigation that have handled, I think it's fair to say, more than 10 appellate issues that have gone up to the Michigan Supreme Court, to the United States Circuit Court for the Sixth Circuit, to even the US Supreme Court. Very active litigation. Experts are involved. You can go to the docket and look at our class papers seeking class certification and see 15 to 17 expert reports and pleadings. So I think it shows that there's been a tremendous amount of effort, lawyering time and cost that goes into it, but all of us are in it for the right reasons in terms of trying to provide justice for the community. So we are very proud of not only the time, but the money that we've spent as well in order to bring this to fruition.
Thank you, Chad. Next up is Althea Cashin.
Hi, so wondering if you can provide, how do you envision the payouts working? Do you think the state will put the $600 million in a fund all at once, or will people get paid out over a period of years?
Yeah, so there is a funding mechanism that is in place. We understand and we expect that there'll be one payment. We're anticipating that if all goes according to what we've discussed, that payment will be made sometime early next year. It will be escrowed. It will be used to pay the claims. And there will be what is called a qualified settlement fund, which is a legal fund that the IRS has created. That certain benefits are received if you deposit the money in a QSF, as we call it. And we expect to receive that money sometime in the first quarter of 2021. And the state has promised to deliver it then.